digital and environmental innovation and a successful track record of initiating pilot projects between startups and investment opportunities. Our role is to help detect the most promising innovative solutions and to connect them with the market. We act as a third party and a facilitator between industry players, startups and investors. Impulse Partners work with many of the biggest names and industry leaders in our focus sectors, with more than 3,000 startups, and help accelerate their go-to-market strategy. We are a strong network of international investors in the sector, with 200 pilot projects, over 50 deployments, and over 50 high-profile investment deals. Impulse Partners have extensive experience in supporting corporate ventures, deal flow and due diligence. Part of our job is to bring people together across the value chain and across regions. Impulse Partners, accelerating the sustainable transformation of cities and industries. The world of urban and industrial infrastructure is facing huge challenges associated with the optimization of resources, changing uses, and the environmental and societal impact of their activities. At Impulse Partners, we are passionate about innovation in construction, smart cities, and industry. Impulse Partners has developed a global ecosystem of entrepreneurs, tech firms, VCs and decision makers in the fields of construction, real estate, energy and infrastructure. We are convinced that there is a huge opportunity for innovation and entrepreneurs in these fields, and that they can help reshape industry and improve efficiency and sustainability. We have years of experience in bringing together value chain stakeholders to accelerate digital and environmental innovation, and a successful track record of initiating pilot projects between startups and investment opportunities. Our role is to help detect the most promising innovative solutions and to connect them with the market. We act as a third party and a facilitator between industry players, startups and investors. Impulse Partners work with many of the biggest names and industry leaders in our focus sectors, with more than 3,000 startups, and help accelerate their go-to-market strategy. We are a strong network of international investors in the sector, with 200 pilot projects, over 50 deployments, and over 50 high-profile investment deals. Impulse Partners have extensive experience in supporting corporate ventures, deal flow and due diligence. Part of our job is to bring people together across the value chain and across regions. Impulse Partners, accelerating the sustainable transformation of cities and industries. The world of urban and industrial infrastructure is facing huge challenges associated with the optimization of resources, changing uses, and the environmental and societal impact of their activities. At Impulse Partners, we are passionate about innovation in construction, smart cities, and industry. Impulse Partners has developed a global ecosystem of entrepreneurs, tech firms, VCs, decision makers in the fields of construction, real estate, energy and infrastructure. We are convinced that there is a huge opportunity for innovation and entrepreneurs in these fields, and that they can help reshape industry.
Hello. Hello and welcome to our Global Construction Tech Program Innovation Session live from Paris. We're glad to have you here today with us to talk about sustainability in construction. For your information, this session is being recorded. And also we would kindly ask you to just put your micro and switch off your microphone if you haven't done it yet. Thank you. If you can pass that. So today we will welcome two CVs, Zacua Ventures and CRH Ventures, and 4 startups will present their work related to the theme of sustainability. Before introducing our speakers for today, I'd like to address a few words about our Global Construction Tech Program. So, as you know, at Impulse Partners, we are specialists in innovation, and our role is to help accelerate innovation in the fields of construction, real estate, energy, and infrastructure. For this, we've developed a global ecosystem of entrepreneurs, tech firms, VCs, and decision makers in general. And we have a successful track record of triggering pilot projects with startups, companies, and investment opportunities. Today, we're glad to present you the first fully international platform created by us, the Global Construction Tech Program. Through this initiative, we aim to bring together companies from around the world to execute a global initiative to boost construction tech innovation, accelerate go-to-market strategies, and help startups scale. As I said, our goal is to create an environment where companies that have prioritized innovation in areas related to sustainability and next generation technologies can meet up and exchange. For this, we are confident that corporates and startups here today can benefit from this initiative, accelerate its innovation strategy, and just strengthen its leadership in the construction industry. While joining our Global Innovation Initiative, you all will have access to over 3,000 startups in our network based everywhere. You will also have access to equity benefits and opportunities, world-class venture investors, and pilot programs to test and validate startup solutions. And as we are doing here today, you'll have the opportunity to meet up with industry peers, share best practices, and develop your innovation network. Well, this was just an overview of our activity, but if you're interested in having more information about the program, please do not hesitate to contact us and our global team through this email in the screen. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariana, for this introduction. Coming up today, we'll hear first from Juan Nieto, GP and founding partner at Zacua Ventures. Then we'll hear from Chris Fortunato, Vice President of CRH Ventures. We will also hear presentations from 4 entrepreneurs who will present us their sustainable construction tech startups. And finally, we'll have a few minutes at the end of the session for Q&A and open discussion. Please use the chat to type your questions or activate your microphone directly. You can also ask your questions at the end of each presentation. Without further ado, let's start this innovation session dedicated to sustainability in construction tech. To begin, I'm very glad to welcome Juan from Zacua Ventures. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat or activate your microphone. Hi, Juan.
Hello, thanks for having me. Good morning to our European colleagues and good afternoon to our Asian partners. May I start sharing my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen directly.
Perfect. Let me know whenever you can see it, please.
We can see it. It's perfect.
Fantastic. So it's so nice to be speaking here today. So first of all, thanks a lot to our great Impulse friends. You guys are doing a fantastic job. I'm seeing a lot of like well-known faces here. So it's fantastic and it's great the job that you guys are doing, like pulling like all the pieces together. I'm gonna try to keep this presentation short. I'm gonna start with a bit of my background and then a bit of the background of Zacua Ventures, who we are, why we are here, and how we're seeing the latest trends around construction tech and sustainability. So just starting from the beginning, so Zacua Ventures is a built environment focused fund, which is investing on early stages all across the globe in any technology that can solve problems around three main areas all across the construction value chain. First is sustainability, second is productivity, and third is urban solutions. Specifically speaking about myself, I was born and raised in Madrid, where I'm connecting from today, although I spent quite a few of my time in Singapore, where we have an office, and I'm the partner for Zacua Ventures, who is managing Asia. I'm a civil engineer by training, so that's how I managed to know the construction sector 13 to 14 years ago. Then I quickly moved into consulting, then I moved into private markets, doing private equity and venture capital kind of deals. And then back in 2018, I joined CEMEX, Corporate VC, and Open Innovation Unit to run the Asia strategy and to set up a Shanghai office. So that's my experience dealing with construction technologies over the past 6-7 years. And my two co-founders, Mauricio Weiss and Vivin Hecte, they were doing exactly the same as myself at two other very large industry conglomerates. Mauricio for CEMEX, he was the first employee at the CBC, and Vivin Hecte for Hilti, one of the largest tool and fastening solutions maker across the globe. So why we set up Zacua Ventures? Mainly because we know open innovation is hard, specifically in the construction sector, where the adoption is very much missing all over the place. So we know that as an open innovation and CVC guy, you need to deal a lot with internal stakeholders, help them to understand what is happening outside, get them together with the most promising technologies and trends, but also try to let them understand how to change their mindset in order to engage with those startups out there. That's on one front. On the other front, you need to be dealing with what is happening outside. Be aware of the latest trends, the latest themes, but also be aware of where the innovation is happening and be really close to those ecosystems. So that's why Zacua Ventures capitalize on a unique set of experts and our network to unlock the synergies between the different partners, the entrepreneur startups, but also our industry partners. So we are a global fund because we believe the innovation is global. So we never know where the next unicorn is going to be. We need to be at the forefront of the critical topics out there. That's why we have a highly collaborative approach with our strategic partners and our network. Jumping straight to the topic, I believe very much everyone in this room will be very aware about these two charts. Specifically, starting with the one on the left side, I think is pretty much underserved and underobserved that the construction sector is the second largest industry in the world, just preceded by financial services. But when you zoom down and you look into how much venture capital and innovation funding has gone into our sector over the past 10 years, it's only 15 billion. And you look into financial services, and that's in excess of 300 billion. So there is a 10x investment gap, which is causing all these productivity decreases that we have been seeing over the past 30 years. I think this chart is also very much well known by everyone in this zone, but we all know that the industry is one of the lowest in terms of IT spending, in terms of total revenue allocation. But it is not because we don't want. It is because the industry has a specific nuances that prevents this to happen. So when you look into understand the construction project, you look into the horizontal axis of this graph, and you look into the share of revenue that each stakeholder is taking across the value chain, from the developers, financiers, architects, engineers, planners, suppliers, but also contractors and subcontractors. And you look at most of the time, the general contractors are taking the most of the risk, therefore the most of the exposure of the revenue, but their margins are pretty thin compared with others across the value chain. This uneven utility distribution is what is preventing the industry to invest more in innovation, R&D, and digitalization. But just trying to switch our pitch to a more optimistic one, we think that the industry is on the verge of breaking out. So when I started investing in construction like 2016, 2017, there was less than $1 million invested all across the globe in the build tech environment. As of last year, we have seen more than 7 billion invested all across build tech deals all over the globe. And what is most exciting is the corporate participation. If you see this 25% like figure here, when I started in corporate VC for Cemex, there was only like 15% out of the whole deal count was counting with a participation from a corporate. But almost on a weekly basis, we're seeing a new CVC launch out there, and corporates are starting to understand that the industry is on this verge of exploding and breaking out. Where we see the industry heading to, there is significant megatrends that are affecting and are shaping this emerging build tech landscape. Forgetting projects which are way more complex than before, having the infrastructure which is changing like so fast, having the difficulty to find skilled labor out there, but also the complexity across the supply chain and all the issues related to resource scarcity, energy and climate change. That's why at Sequoia Ventures, we are mostly focused on three major themes. First one is productivity, which most of the innovation has happened over the past 5 to 6 years, trying to make the build environment safer and a more efficient place. Then the as of tomorrow, as how we see it, is sustainability, trying to build it without compromising the resources of the future. And then the day after tomorrow, urban solutions, trying to make the build environment a more responsive and inclusive place. Specifically at Sequoia Ventures, our expertise help us to identify where we want to focus as a fund. So within productivity, we are most interested in investing on projects on process digitalization, workflow optimization, better cash flow management, payment solutions, so on and so forth. But also anything that has to do with replacing humans on site and off site through robotics or prefabrication. And then, whenever you have access to the data, there is a beautiful AI layer that you can apply in order to improve those workflows, but also new and disruptive construction methods. Within sustainability, we are very much focused on understanding where the emissions and the impact could be coming from an assessment and abatement point of view, and also from a building material supply chain, but also from a process and later operation point of view. That's why we are trying to invest a lot on deep tech related to building materials, trying to increase the circularity levels of the industry, and trying to properly and better manage the waste. Lastly, within urban solutions, we are very much excited about housing affordability. I think everyone has seen like the cost of housing going up and up over the past few years. So that's why affordable housing is a big topic for us. But also anything has to do with making our cities and our buildings smarter and try to make the infrastructure more resilient and cater towards like new pandemics or whatever is coming next. I'm gonna make a pause on the Sequoia pitch just to show this slide, because back in November, December last year, 2022, we did a survey to over 80 VCs and corporate VCs, which are active investors in construction tech, to try to understand where they see the future of the sector or where they are likely to increase their investments during 2023. So formerly, when we were doing this kind of service, most of the bets were coming into productivity, into field management, so on and so forth. But surprisingly, or unsurprisingly maybe, last year we have seen that almost 2/3 of the respondents has expressed interest on increasing their investments into sustainability, but also their interest in verticals like new materials and robotics, which is very much unseen in the construction sector. That's why we're incredibly excited to be investing on these themes and on these topics as of today. As a closing remarks, who we are backed by some of the industry largest construction industry groups coming out of multiple regions. We have investors coming out of Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, multiple regions in Europe, North and Latin America. Each of those corporate investors are very much looking to engage with our community, with our entrepreneurs, but also looking to co-invest alongside us. So we have every profile of investor within our own cap table. We have suppliers, distributors of building materials, we have builders, developers, we have software players, and we have multiple other stakeholders who are interested in making the industry a better world for everyone. How we do this? We try to unlock these ecosystem synergies with our own unique model. We help our corporate partners to craft their strategic and innovation roadmaps, access to the expertise and the technologies, but also the most relevant trends and techs out there within the hottest ecosystems. I think we said this before, but we are a global fund. We have 3 locations. We have an office in San Francisco, we have an office in Madrid, and we have a part-time office in Singapore. We also have two new team member additions, one joining us from New York, another one joining us from Mexico. So we have very much a global coverage. That's why we are able to provide the partners, the startup partners that we have, access to potential customers, R&D partners, access to a global platform for scaling, but also technology and workflow support. On the other hand, we are also able to support our corporate partners to access those new technologies and new markets whenever they demand for it. Lastly, where we have been investing so far. So we have been 1 year out there since we launched this fund, and we have been probably one of the most active construction technology investors out there. We have done 9 investments into 7 different startups, coming out from different regions in the world, all the way from Europe, North America, and Latin America. So for example, I think this is the one that could probably make more sense today in the intersection of construction tech and sustainability. We have invested in a company called EcoWorks. This company is providing an asset light, a minimally invasive serial renovation system for vertical construction all across the German landscape. So these gentlemen are able to pull together a virtual kit of parts, a digital assessment solution to assess which kind of vertical constructions can be retrofitted by the system. And whenever they find one, they're able to retrofit without owning any asset, just by partnering with multiple suppliers across the value chain. That's the beauty about this model. They have been growing so fast, and we believe that this is probably the future of Europe. I'm really excited to continue the discussion with everyone in this room. If anyone wants to keep the discussion around these portfolio companies, around construction technology overall, or even like learning more about our fund, I will be really happy to talk. So I'm leaving here my contact details, email, phone number, WhatsApp, and LinkedIn. Just feel free to reach out whenever you want. Thanks for everyone for listening to us.
Thank you so much, Juan, for this very interesting presentation. So please, if anyone has any question, just activate your microphones or type down your questions. And once again, we will have a time at the end for open discussion. Okay, thank you so much, Juan. I'm now glad to welcome Chris, who will present CRH Ventures. Hello, Chris.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I guess I can go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here. Okay, you guys can see my screen?
Yeah.
And I'm not in the US today, so I'm as much as I am excited to be here, you probably wouldn't get me at 3:30 in the morning, but I am in our Dublin headquarters, so this was a lot easier, but happy to be with you all. Thanks to the Impulse team, we've enjoyed working with you guys. We're launching our own accelerator here coming soon, which I'll chat about, and it's been fun working with the team. So we just launched our venture fund at CRH at the end of last year, so maybe I'll just begin by telling you a little bit about CRH. So we're a building materials company, and we've been around for quite a while. What building materials exactly means for us, you can see there's the majority of our products here. And vertically integrated means that we own mining. We have a number of mines, quarries, where we get our materials from, the plants, the logistics, distribution. We have a large landscaping business where we also manufacture our own materials and distribute them. Mentioned the headquarters is in Dublin. That's where we were founded, and we've been around for quite a while. CRH has really built its business through acquisitions, so no one operates under the CRH brand. We have a number of local operations depending on where people are throughout North America and Europe, and operate just through those brands. So you've probably never heard of CRH, but you've perhaps maybe heard of some of our more local operating companies. But in no pun intended, but in aggregate, we are one of the larger cement and asphalt producers in the world. For example, in the US, we're the largest municipal road builder. So the size and scale of the company is quite large. I think being fragmented through more localized operations actually helps us work with entrepreneurs. Because, for example, if we're going to deploy some new cementitious material, I'm not sort of going to a global head of sorts to make that pilot decision. I'll focus very specifically on one of our cement plants in, say, New Jersey, where I'm from. But yeah, I'll share more about CRH Ventures. So like I said, we launched this at the end of last year. It's a $250 million fund. And really what it serves to is to think more about our value chains. So like I said, we own the materials production and plants, but what are the other types of solutions and services that we can offer to customers on top of that? And so the companies that we look for kind of fit that mold. We have a $250 million fund, but we'll also be doing a lot of more private equity style off balance sheet investing. There's a number of areas in which we invest where I think venture financing might not be the right financing mechanism for companies. It's definitely one of the reasons that innovation in our tangential areas has been slower than, say, some other technology areas. So we want to offer a financing product that is suitable for what entrepreneurs need in the areas that we care about. And the areas that we care about are here. Obviously, decarbonization is big for us as a cement and asphalt producer. We're a large offender as far as carbon output goes. But really, the focus areas match every part of our business. We'd like to skew earlier stage, seed through Series A. I think that's where a lot of our investments will come from. That's where they have so far. But for us, it's really about finding the best solution to something, where we have a problem or a need. And then we just fit into whatever sort of financing round that is, whether it's a lead, whether it's a syndicate, early stage, growth stage. Let's find the best solution and help bring that thing to market. And to that end, it's important to us to be a partner or customer of everything that we're investing in. I think that's really important for a corporate investor. My opinion, I come from the investment world, and my opinion of a lot of our peers is that they make a lot of investments and aren't so connected to their underlying operations, and so they struggle to bring things to market. And I think we're doing ourselves a disservice as a corporate investor to not be making those connections between our operations and the companies in which we're investing. So, and I think that includes anything that's very frontier as well, just because there's a technology out there that perhaps many, a large portion of the industry isn't using, or might say that they're not ready to use. The readiness is very much dependent upon the customer being ready to use it. They can help entrepreneurs scale a technology. So, there's a number of things that we're doing that might fit into a frontier category. But I think, it's important that we're willing to take that risk, because the barrier to those things going from frontier to mainstream is people like ourselves being willing to be a customer or user and provide the data that allows companies to make that sort of conversion. Just to kind of further articulate the focus areas. So here's sort of a supply chain of like a cement business for us, and where a number of these focus areas would fit in. So, we're really open to anything and really disrupting our business. So even as a cement producer, we're not married to the material. Certainly the holy grail for us is to find a new cementitious material that has a zero carbon output. So we're not out there lobbying for its existence in the world. And so that kind of fits into this binders of the future category that you see on the bottom left. And then on the top right, even marketplaces, you would see that as commoditizing our business. But we think that's more of a matter of when rather than if. And so, we don't want to cause any friction and bring that kind of customer experience to market. And so we're investing in things where if marketplaces are going to be pervasive, that we're one of the best sort of suppliers on such a platform. Here's just two examples of companies we've invested in. So AI Creates using AI to optimize mix designs. And I think the important piece there is the partnership that we have set up. So I think entrepreneurs are in our industry are often having to spend capital on things that aren't accruing to the value of their company. For example, I think a company like AI Create in the past would have to use investor capital to go buy their own raw materials or mix equipment to test what they're doing, and that means that they'll have to raise more capital, dilute themselves, when their ability, say, to buy mix equipment is not the reason that they decided to start the company. So an example like this, to help this company come to market, we gave them a number of raw materials and equipment to start testing their AI, and hopefully that allows them to operate in a much more efficient manner. And for us, it's not just about piloting. Every time we invest in a company, sure, there's a pilot plan, but there's also a plan to define success, and if it is successful, scale it across our operation as quickly as possible. We're not sort of here to just pilot things, write a blog, and call ourselves innovators. If we get that title, it's because we're really driving scalable technology and providing an example for the rest of our industry to that end. Our accelerator, which we're proud to be launching here in partnership with Impulse. So one of the next areas that we'll be spending a lot of time in across CRH is in water infrastructure. And so we really like the idea of having an accelerator thematically focused. It gives us as a company a lot of leverage, and then certainly for the companies participating in the program, the opportunity to gain insights from each other. So that'll be launching in May. And what it means exactly is more of a pilot program directly with our operations. So, I think water is a massive market, but doesn't get a ton of venture funding. I think it was one of the lower segments of the infrastructure tech market last year. And so, we realize is the sort of gap there is due to not having more companies like ourselves being willing to partner with companies. So that means where we're building treatment plants, if a company's working on a new filtration technology, we'll sort of sponsor that company to test their filter at one of our municipal customers' treatment sites. So more on those focus areas you'll see here. On the right there, those are some of the products that we already make. And so finding startups that are building services and technology that would sit on top of those products is what we're looking for. And here's a handful of our operating companies across North America and Europe that will be working with the companies. So very excited about that and to be launching that soon. I think you're the first folks outside of CRH and Impulse to know about it. So consider yourself special. Here's my contact, would love to connect with anyone, but otherwise just really happy to be a part of the Impulse community. Like I said, it's been really fun to work with the team there, and looking forward to contributing in whatever way possible. And like I said, always here to speak with you all. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Chris, for this very interesting presentation. And our team is so happy to work with you on this great project. Does anyone have any question for Chris?
Perhaps one, if I may, Sverre Simonsen from Velux. I'm just, I've been working a lot in the supply chain on decarbonizing, mostly in metals and polymers and so on. We are not at all in the cementitious business. So just what kind of order of magnitude are you hoping to be able to decarbonize in, let's say, from now to 2030, 2050?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're certainly not married to keeping cement around. The Holy Grail is finding a zero carbon cementitious material. So in terms of that, what's the order of magnitude we're looking for is finding a brand new material that replaces cement. So quite significantly. And where along the supply chain, there's a number of stopgap sort of ways that we can get to at least a net zero output on the way to getting to a fully zero emissions output. Everything from new energy sources to using AI for our mix designs, anything like that we'll really use. But I think the important thing is with a lot of decarbonization, there's sort of a whack-a-mole issue is what I call it. You solve a problem in one area, but it creates a problem somewhere else. So we're very conscious of that. So yeah, want to make sure we're doing things at scale and providing an example for that. But certainly from an order of magnitude standpoint, I think we have a responsibility to shoot for that zero emissions output solution.
Right. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think we have a question from Frank.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for your presentation, also the previous speaker. So my name is Frank from the European Innovation Council. So my question is, would you also invest in propositions further up in the supply chain of architecture, engineering, and construction, for example, computational design, which allows you to use and consume less materials by smart design approaches? I didn't see it in your slide, but just want to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think especially when it comes to prefabrication construction, you have much more of that. The architectural experience is a digital experience, which I think it makes it a better fit for an integration with a supplier. And we already have a lot of construction where architects are designing things specifically for our supply set. But I think we should also be doing the opposite, is building products that are specific for highly in demand projects. So that comes in the form of modular construction is probably the best example. But that is one thing that I see as a closer connection between architects and suppliers. And so we're open to whatever we need to do from a digital standpoint or just a product innovation standpoint to make it easier for architects to just sort of understand when they're building something, exactly what that's going to cost.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Thanks, Chris, again. So let's start the startups presentations with the first Remy, who will present Bloom Renewables, a solution specialized in the valorization of biomaterials, which convert plant waste into chemicals used in packaging as a sustainable alternative to petroleum. Thank you, Remy, for being with us. Let's start, and please, you can share your screen.
Yes, give me a second. So hi everyone, thank you for having me here. My name is Remy. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bloom Biorenewables, and I should be sharing my screen, but it doesn't seem to. I see Grégoire's screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen. Just you have to put it in.
Okay.
Yeah, presentation mode.
Very good. So what we are doing at Bloom is a good transition from my previous speaker, because we look at renewable carbon and how to make materials of the future that have as low as possible impact, and also taking into account the whole kind of general picture around what it entails to change from one material to the other. And we are very convinced that biomass is an undervalorized material. And if we look at what is happening in the investment field, we really think and want to push here that we have a system through plants that is able to capture CO2, that has a renewability by design, and we should build more using plants. Now, what has been limiting plants so far is really its ability to be used as petrochemicals are. And when I talk about plants here, I will focus on the major polymers. So we talk about lignocellulosic biomass, which are terrestrial plants, the non-edible part of them, and they are mainly made of cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. Most of you know cellulose from the pulp and paper industry, but lignin and hemicellulose are not known, and the reason is just that today they are not used because they are very difficult to get out of the matrix without breaking them. So we have seen a need and identified really a lack of solutions to be able to break the biomass while keeping the underutilized fraction in a state that can then be valorized into products. And this is really what the company is based on. So it's an aldehyde assisted fractionation. It's the first step that you have when you break down the biomass. And what we do is we protect chemically our lignin structures, especially, but also our hemicellulose structures, and are able to feed them into products. Here I show you a number of the products that we have been able to develop over the past few years. Without going into the chemical structures, what we have to remember here is we can use mostly any type of biomass, but we focus on wood at the moment. Then we have developed a whole part of lignin kind of related molecules that can be used by the petrochemical industry to produce materials that I'll show you in a minute. But we also managed to use the same chemistry to develop things on the hemicellulose fraction, while still making the same quality of cellulose that the pulp and paper industry is doing. So I hope I could convince you here that we are developing a new era of biorefining, and this is really based on these three pillars. The first one is the circularity and the capacity of decreasing the CO2. But unfortunately, people are not, although the surveys seem to show differently in the world of VCs, sustainability is a lot of, elements in discussions, but what people buy in the end is performance and scalability / cost, because you only bring the cost down if you manage to scale. So that's the two pillars that are often lacking and that we are able to bring. The high performance comes through our understanding of the chemistry we are doing, and this has been validated by our customers. And the scalability is because we have a very simple chemical process that is very concentrated, so we can work a bit like the pulp and paper industry and reach similar scales of hundreds of thousands of tons a year. Now, just a few elements on the environmental kind of benefits. So we can show, and this is shown by the graph here, is by allocating the CO2 economically, which is the most accepted way of allocating CO2, we can show extreme gains in CO2 emissions compared to petrol-based chemicals. And this is really what drives us to push this technology into the different markets. So we have spent most of our last 2 years looking at the product market fits between the performance that we are able to reach with our product that we can validate chemically and the need of the market. And we have managed to do this on a number of products. There is a lot in the pipeline, but I would like to focus here on 2 products in construction. But before I do this, I would just like to give an overview on our approach. So the challenging thing with construction and any kind of company that moves around atoms is that you need to scale. And if you target bulk chemicals, which is the part where you're going to make most of the impact, you will have to have a long road to get there, and you will need a lot of capex. So it's extremely important to have early revenues on smaller markets that are in the fine chemical space. And so we have focused our strategy on building joint development agreements, finding partners on molecules like the ones used in fragrance or in cosmetics, in order to generate our early revenues, and have been able to show that in other parts or fractions that come as side stream of these high value fractions are outperforming existing bio-based solutions. So let me just dive into 2 projects that I would like to present here. The first one is in construction resins. So here we use lignin oligomers. This is a very low-priced side stream of our monomer production. And we could show with our partner that we can replace up to 100% of the polyols in these polyurethanes. And this has never been reached, or is extremely difficult to reach with lignin. And the other element that is very different is the processability. So we are able to reach viscosities that are unique and enable basically the unleashing of these type of products. And now we are together with this partner targeting market values of 10 million by 2028 in these polyurethane resins. The other material that I would like to present here is a new biopolymer that we built from sugars. And this is really a polyester, so a PET-like material with much lower environmental footprint. But the beauty here is really that you can, in the structure, see parts of what nature is providing. So you don't modify nature too much, but you get the properties of petrochemical materials. And this is, again, how we can differentiate ourselves from our competitors. Now, to look a bit into the future and to also close a bit the presentation. So we have now validated our process and our products with customers. And we are now scaling the technology. So this is how our first biorefinery could look like. This is 1,000 tons per year capacity. And on this plant, we have already covered a substantial amount of the OPEX, the target being to go to 100% of the OPEX covered and just have a CapEx plan there and be able to continue developing together with partners, the markets in constructions and others. Now, just to give you a bit an overview on the timeline and where we stand, we have started the project in 2018, founded the company in 2019, raised around 4 million, led by Breakthrough Energy Venture at the end of 2020. This allowed us to go through the process I just presented, and we opened in February 10 million Series A that we plan to close before the summer. We have a consortium that is built around this case and would be happy to enter into more discussion with you. The target of this raise being the construction of a demonstration unit that you saw before. Now with this, I would like to close here. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to take 1 or 2 questions.
Thank you so much, Remy. It was very interesting. Okay, so does anyone have questions? Yes, Ver.
Yeah, Sverre Simonsen again from Velux. Extremely interesting. Thanks for sharing, Remy. We have a long history, and I personally have a long history in polyurethanes. So I'm a bit curious about that particular example. Are you able to? One thing is replacing the polyols, which are by nature, you can say, based on already biological starters, sucrose and so on, and then you add various chemicals to chain extent. But the real key is to replace the isocyanate, and for that you need to be able to produce bio-naphtha. I didn't, in your big chart there of various chemical compounds, I wasn't able to spot whether from the lignin or the hemicellulose you're able to somehow produce bio-naphtha and put that in the value chain of the large chemical industries and fractionate and so on.
Yeah, so thank you for your question. I see the expertise is very clear. So we look at these type of routes. They are a bit more or further down the road because going into the naphtha world, so plants do not produce naphtha in that sense. And so it's easier to get to monoaromatics than poly. But in the end, the important thing is to be able to quickly generate these revenues, and that's why we go towards these polyols. But we have a lot of efforts going into fuels, especially more than isocyanates. But these are similar kind of approaches where you look at how you can hydrotreat these streams to get to something that is as close as possible to the petro-based reference.
Yeah, no, extremely interesting. I would like to pick up that conversation separately because the benchmark should not be bio-based polymers for plastics such as PLA and so on. You really need to benchmark against the current technical polymer grades as a drop-in substitute. But a discussion for another day. Looking forward.
No, with pleasure.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll have the time also for open discussion at the end. So thank you very much, Remy, for this very interesting presentation about Bloom Renewables. Now I'm very glad to welcome Ido, who will present EcoConcrete, which actually develops sustainable concrete for construction ecologically active infrastructures, which are designed for enhancing the biological and ecological value of coastal and marine infrastructures. Hi, Ido.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to try and share my screen.
Yeah.
Hope you can see it.
Yes.
So, perfect. So, hi, everyone. My name is Ido Stella. I'm a co-founder and CEO of EcoConcrete. I'm a marine biologist dealing with impact of coastal construction in the last 20 years. And this is basically where EcoConcrete was generated and started. The work that we do on coastal construction and its impact has really quickly put us on focusing on concrete as the main material using for coastal and marine construction. And this is what we do in EcoConcrete. We basically the only environmental concrete technology can be integrated into any concrete casting, any type of concrete casting done. It's precast, dry cast, cast on site, etc. Used for marine construction that fully comply with marine construction standards and offshore standards, and provide biological, proven, scientifically biological benefits to, and because of that, also financial benefits to our clients. We were established in 2012 when we started our R&D. So we're dealing with proven ecological functioning, which is the growth of organisms on the water and biodiversity in a very liability-driven sector, a very long and details proof of concept and scientific validation of our technology done by regulators and other universities and other parties that showed our capabilities around the world in tropical and temperate environments. And then around 2015, we started to initiate the technology into actual construction project. Since then, we have more than 40 projects that are all infrastructure. We are operating from 3 offices, Tel Aviv, Barcelona, and New York. And what we provide is technology. So our IP is our major asset. We are providing a technology package to local contractors using local materials to utilize the technology, and that's the core of our work. The main problem is that 70% of coastal infrastructure worldwide is concrete based. I'm talking on bridge foundations, ports, waterfronts of cities and urban areas, and because of that, the importance of the ecological functioning of concrete structure is so important, and it's usually associated with a negative impact on the marine environment. Usually those structures will show low biodiversity, dominance of invasive species, and poor water quality, which reduce basically the ecosystem services that are providing to those areas. And this is where we stepped in through a very long process of R&D. What we developed is basically a mechanism, a technology that can be implemented on any type of concrete, on local concrete, using 3 levels. One is an admix that is added in small quantities into the concrete mix, into the local concrete mix. The second is different agents that are applying on the surface of the mold before casting. And the third are all our inserts that we provide to our clients that can be integrated into their molding system for casting their products. We are in compliance with the American standards, the European standard, British standard, and the Australian standard at any time. And when you apply the technology in a proper way on any concrete, this is what you'll see. And those, for example, are results from the Atlantic. What we do is we balance the concrete, the local concrete, in a way that it can actually provide us a very sufficient and good substrate for growth of biology, almost equivalent to natural reef, which means we brought back to the waterfronts of New York oysters. We are promoting the growth of corals on jetties and piers. There's numerous benefits, environmental benefits and structural benefits of promoting a balanced biology on infrastructure, starting with the biology, the environmental one. So we're at minimum, we're committing to double biodiversity on all the assets that are incorporating our technology, significant increase on water quality, reducing the dominance of invasive species, providing species richness, habitat creation, also bioprotection to the asset. And an additional one is basically carbon sequestration. By promoting a healthy growth of marine biology on your assets, on your ports, on your breakwaters, you can actually create a very efficient carbon sequestration system, just because of the ability of those organisms to grow their skeletons that are made of calcium, and the utilization of dissolved CO2 in the water. So a key wall, which is 1 kilometer of a key wall, which is a standard key wall on a port, will generate, and is generating currently in our project, an equivalent amount of CO2 sequestration as 100 adult trees every year. Our technology is used across the globe, tropical and temperate environment. New quay walls in the port of Rotterdam are built with our technology. Waterfronts of San Francisco and New York and San Diego is done with that. And in all of them, we have monitoring, we have environmental results, and a third-party validation on the performance. How this is looking in practice. So, for example, this is from a project from last year. Massive breakwater in Mallorca in Spain, built with a standard unit, blocks and aquapod unit. Our technology was required there because of environmental permitting and environmental requirements. We are incorporating our technology, providing that to the contractor, which is doing using it during the casting of the system. Then the technology is applied on the breakwater, where our technology is applied only up to the mean high water line. Above it, they can use the standard concrete because we are efficient up to the mean high water line. Same quay walls in the port of Malaga, for new quay walls in the port of Malaga, built with those 35 tons blocks. Everything is done locally by local contractors and local materials. Those are the results just a few months later. You can see on the bottom, standard concrete. You can see on the top, the modified concrete, same concrete modified with our technology. You can see the results. Port of Vigo in Spain, largest fishing port in Europe, modifying its seawalls with our technology, also including an underwater observatory to show the public the results within the port. We deal with any type of infrastructure. A lot of the work that we do is coastal erosion and erosion control. This is, for example, from city of Neptune in New Jersey. When the regulator assessed us, what you see on the right side is a standard unit, articulated concrete mattresses. What you see on the left side, exactly the same unit, compliant with the same ASTM requirements, modified with our technology. This is after a year in the water when the systems are touching each other. Because of that, we were the chosen technology for the rest of the project, and this is just a few months after installation. You can see the system in practice. Breakwaters, a lot of the work that we do is on coastal erosion and protection of assets. Those are 8 breakwaters that are protecting the tip of Staten Island in New York. 20% of the breakwater armor is made with our technology. The reason that our armor was used there is because they found that when they take local concrete, they apply our technology on their local concrete, they get much better oyster recruitment than even the natural rock they use. So because of that, the armor was modified with concrete blocks and concrete systems with our technology. And this is the first self-mitigating project on the northeast of the US that acknowledged by and permitted by the Corps of Engineers, which means a direct saving for a client, which is the state of New York, of almost 10 million in mitigation cost, just because of applying the technology on the construction, during the construction itself. Port of San Diego, as I mentioned, issues with that's the shipping channel to the Port of San Diego. Port of San Diego is the shipping channel is basically built. Banks are built with a tread material that we cap with a very low quality riprap. There is an urgent need to replace that, and they had environmental permits that they need to comply with that made that very, very difficult. They reached out to us. This system was applied for a pilot, validated by the regulator, the Coastal Commission, very, very successfully, bringing back a lot of species that were never found there before. This is a 60 years design life. I didn't mention, but we work on projects which are 60 to 120 years design life. So a lot of work on the quality of the ability of the concrete to withstand those things. And because of that, now this year they're going to second and third phase of applying the technology. A major part of our operation is offshore. We're recommended technology by the Dutch government, in the US by the Nature Conservancy, and also by Natural England for offshore construction, where technology is mostly incorporated into systems like large articulated concrete mattresses for capping pipes and cables underwater. What you can see here is the new cables that are running from Long Island towards the upcoming wind farms that are capped with our technology. Also, cables that are running between assets. In this case, in the Canary Islands, Red Electrica cables that are crossing between the islands. There was a need to cap it in a very environmental sensitive area. They reached out to us. We provided the system. They applied the technology. This is 10 months after installation, and you can see the results where the technology is fully incorporated into the ecosystem, but at the same time provide exactly the technical requirements that the clients is needed. Protecting gas pipe, Trans-Adriatic pipeline is protected by our system. And the last thing that we do now is basically we're still in the R&D, but already at the end of our pilot site, where we are providing a solution for reducing the scar protection that is at the base of each wind turbine by replacing it with interlocking system, concrete system, with the main targets of reducing the footprint of the seabed and also provide habitat and support ecological factors. With this, we launched our first offshore pilot, 12-mile offshore New York under Department of Environmental Conservation, New York. We did it also collaborating with Holcim US. And our first results are very, very promising, both in terms of hydraulics stability and also ecological function. That's what we do. I think what's unique about us is that we can use in any site because we provide the technology to the local contractors using local workforce, and it's a proven technology with a long track record of validation that can easily implement it into any concrete construction. Thank you. With this, I will finish, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ido. for this very interesting presentation about Concrete. Does anyone have questions? Okay, thanks again. And of course, we'll have time at the end that all the participants will have the speakers' information, contact information, if you want afterwards to get in touch with one another. Well, to continue, I'm very happy to introduce you to the startup Captis. Actually, Theodore couldn't make it for this morning session, but he will be present with us for our afternoon North America and Europe session. So he has recorded his pitch, his presentation, and if you have any questions, type them down on the chat, and we will make sure to ask him the question this afternoon. And of course, you have his email. Let us know if you can hear the presentation.
So hi everyone. First of all, thanks a lot for the opportunity to pitch our company today. I'm Theo. I'm a co-founder at Captis. And at Captis, we are building a CO2 capture technology that has the potential to capture up to 90% of the carbon emission from the exhaust of internal combustion engine. So these include internal combustion engine from EV vehicles, from generators that we can put on board of a vehicle. That's what we call mobile carbon capture. So Captis in a nutshell, we are EPFL spin-off. So EPFL is a top engineering school in Switzerland. We have 2 patents in our portfolio, and we have raised today 1.9 million, and are today also 5 full-time employees. So Captis is a clean tech startup that helps the freight industry to drastically reduce its carbon emission by retrofitting existing generators or heavy-duty vehicles such as trucks and ships. But before speaking about the solution and the tech, let's talk about the why. Why are we building this device? First, because we found out that road freight is emitting a lot, around 9% of our global carbon footprint. And secondly, because this sector is very far from achieving its climate targets. So McKinsey has quantified it and has quantified that 400,000 green trucks are missing by 2030 to reach minus 45% reduction in carbon emission by 2030, fixed by the European Commission. And now we have only 5,000 green trucks on circulation. This is because current low carbon solutions, such as electric and hydrogen, they do have some advantages, but they have also some drawbacks. We identify 2 drawbacks. The first one is that it requires to change every truck in circulation, buy a new one, and buy a more expensive one. And the second fact is that, and maybe it's more important, we do not have to change the technology on the vehicle itself, but also the whole infrastructure behind, from the production of the new energy source to its distribution and storage, changing the whole supply chain, which will take decades. So for us, there is a gap and there is a potential for a retrofitting solution such as mobile carbon capture. It has 2 main advantages. The first one is that it is low cost because we retrofit existing vehicle. We don't have to buy a new one. And also, so it's the cost of an equipment and not a new truck. And secondly, because it is fast to deploy, because we can rely on the existing fueling station. How does it work? So there are 3 main steps. The first step is that we connect our kit to the truck exhaust pipes. You can see here between the cabin and the trailer. And we are recovering the heat. Then the second step is that we'll use this heat to absorb and desorb CO2 within the stream. So we inject part of the heat we previously recovered, and this is this change in temperature in the tank that will make the capture process working. Then the third step is that we will compress the CO2 until it reaches the liquid form. So we compress it and we'll compress up to 90% of the carbon emission in the stream. So at the end, we have liquid CO2 on board of a vehicle. So the question that often comes later is what do we do with this CO2? So from the user perspective, so the truck driver at the end of this truck duty will go back to his depot and has to simply discharge the liquid CO2 from the onboard storage tank to the main fixed storage tank. It takes approximately 10 minutes. Then at Captis, on a monthly basis, we have to take this bulk amount of CO2 that we will sell it to our network of partners. There are many markets for that. And this will bring extra revenue for Captis, but also for its customer. So our technological roadmap, we have completed our laboratory test 3 years ago, and now we are testing our first prototype, which will be in an industrial environment. So first we'll connect it to generators, which can be also an interesting market, the generators used in construction sites. And then we'll connect it to the engine of a truck in order to test it and to understand better how the processes work in an industrial environment. So that will be the main objective for this year, and also to design and build the V1 product next year, to do some pilots, and then to reach full commercialization in 2026. Our business model is that we want to provide this device, to install it, to maintain it through our partners, and to handle the liquid CO2 that the truck produces or the generators in exchange for a leasing fee. So now the traction that we have 2 early customers. So one is the Swiss transporters, with whom we are in a partnership in order to develop the next version of our prototype next year. So we will have a truck where we will perform our test, and the goal of the next prototype is to have a fully integrated prototype in a truck. Then the second customer is a Japanese leading company. And what we are doing with them is what we call a co-development agreement. So we want to adapt our technology to a specific product in order to reach commercialization in 2025. We have also signed some letter of intent and MOU with some CO2 buyers, and we just completed our first financing round, pre-seed round, 1.3 million. So here you can see the logo of our ecosystem. You can see here the logo of EPFL, so the university, our R&D partner. During our pre-seed round, so we had some investor, a combination between business angel, some VCs such as Blackwood, and also Plug and Play. So we just finished the Japanese accelerators organized by Plug and Play in Tokyo last month, and also Cargill as a strategic investor. We are also supported by the Ministry of Environment in Switzerland, some European accelerators, and also IMD with some MBAs in accelerators. So yeah, this is the end of the presentation. I'm very sorry not to pitch live, as I am in a different time zone, but I would be very happy to answer your question via email or to set up a call if you are interested in our company. So thanks a lot and have a very good day.
Perfect. Thanks, Theodore. Okay, so if you have questions, don't hesitate to write them down, and we'll make sure that our contact Theodore from Captis will have them and answer. Well, finally, I'm very happy to welcome Tiffaine, who will present Lico Labs, which combines wood lattice structures with the advanced robotics manufacturing to enable the construction of buildings of any size with wood, replacing steel and concrete and mitigating hundreds of tons of CO2 per home. Hi, Tiffany.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the great presentation, but also for organizing this session. It's well intended, and I'm very glad to be part of it. So I will continue to speak about construction, sustainability, and also improving margins, as I heard a little bit at the beginning of this session. So LICO Labs is the only automated system that is optimized and that is powered by robotics and AI and can allow tailor-made construction with carbon negative footprints. And I will maybe start with the beginning to focus on concrete and steel materials that are still contributing 50% of the carbon emission on Earth. And so to target the net zero emission by 2015 in Europe, we definitely need to replace those two materials as of now. At LICO, we aim at thinking that mass timber is the next solution because it is well advanced and it is also a sustainable materials that can be found everywhere over the world. But it also has a lot of background. I'm sure we all seen a wood building with over 1,000 years old as of now. But we are not the only one because, as you can see some figures from Deloitte, the construction industry made of wood is expecting to increase by 10% every year until 2013. Yep. So the innovation is not wood, but the innovation is definitely the product that we've created on the right-hand side and the way to produce it on the left-hand side. So on the right-hand side, you have the lattice, which is the wall made of wood and fiber wood that we developed at LICO. So it is made of wooden slats and insulation made of wood fiber. On the left-hand side, we have created a proprietary software that is able to calculate for every wall in every building from the bottom of the construction to the top the feature of every wall. So it is producing a digital twin from the 2D plans that we received from architects. And then it can actually fill those walls with the proper wood materials. And this is based on calculations for the acoustics, the thermal, but also the structural aspects of the building. Here is a representation on the right-hand side of a 6-story building. So you can see that from the bottom to the top, the composition of the wall will be different. And this allows us to use 50% less wood than traditional wood materials. So of course, when you're only supporting the roof at the top of the building, you need less materials. And then we have a lot of efficiency in all the walls that are composing this construction. So the product is already on the market. It is patented with 8 patents, internationally speaking. And if we are speaking about the few figures that are the advantages compared to the current solution, here are a lot of aspects. So the first one is that we can replace all the steel and concrete that is above ground in the building. It is compared to traditional solution, CLT, which is cross-laminated timber. We are using 50% less wood than this solution, but also 95% less glue compared to this solution. And this is a very important aspect because the use of glue is actually the fact that CLT cannot be recycled. and we can recycle 78% of our panel. So we have this cradle-to-cradle view of the product, and at the end of the life, we are able to disassemble the building and to reuse it for new construction. In terms of installation, the product that we developed is thinner than the concrete walls. And this is a strong message for developers because we have the capacity to provide 5% gain in surface on a building. It is also prefabrication, so less on-site traffic. We don't have any time for drying the concrete on-site, and so less workforce requirement as well. To provide an overview of what we've done, so this was previously the product as walls, but we think that our second product is also the way to do it. So with this we have this automated production line, which is using automotive robotics, and that can assemble on one line some panels made of wood that have very specific features that can come from the software. So basically, these walls can be assembled everywhere with this micro factory, which has very small footprint on floor, and that can actually replace some concrete factory locally. So as you can see, it is vertically assembled. So it's again enable the producer to gain some space in the industry. To come back to the product and what we are offering, so we consider us as a one-stop shop because we receive the plans for the architects. Then our structural design team can validate those plans. And we have the software and the capacity to transfer those plans into a 3D BIM vision with the calculation to fit all the necessary things in the wall and to transfer this message to the assembly line. And then we currently have on-site installation teams that can assemble the walls directly on ground. But this is not like the future and the strategy that we see for LECO. We think that the three main blocks would be in the future our main area of development. So basically, we've developed now several projects. Here is a selection. We wanted to show a bit of diversification in what we've done. So the first one was an architect villa, and I think it is an interesting view because you can imagine this as steel and glass, but it is actually a wood roof and wool pillars that is constructing the house. And then you have those collective housings, and maybe the last one is also interesting because it is a mix of commercial but also offices building that we are currently constructing. In terms of regulation, so I already mentioned, but this is a proven technology with 8 patents that has already a few deliverables. In France, we have this mandatory decennial liability insurance. All the calculation around the carbon emissions, and that are actually negative, have been certified by the EPD. And we are in the process of receiving by end of this month the European technical assessment that allows us to answer more quickly to any offers. In terms of development and roadmap, so LECO is based in Luxembourg. So this is where we have started to produce and we have started to commercialize our production. But we also signed this year some contracts in Belgium and the Netherlands, and are in discussion in France with several projects. So this is our current commercial developments, but the roadmap is also to move to the UK and Germany, as well as Nordics area. And this is really possible because we have this micro factory that can be developed by us directly or by our partners in their factory with a software that is working and automatically producing walls. Maybe to provide a view of where we stand and where we see us in the future. So we have this pilot microfactory that is producing with a lot of automatization currently in Luxembourg. So just to provide a vision, in 2022, we were producing manually, so which it means that we could provide 6 square meters of walls per hour. With the automatization of the line, that is now 18 square meters per hour. So with this 14 microfactory by end of 2013, it would provide a strong capacity and volume to really scale up and answering the market demand in Europe. The second attention point, I think here, is the margin. Most of the players, we mentioning this earlier, but in the construction industry are really tight on the margin because we are using a lot of raw materials, but also a lot of labor costs. And with this microfactory, it is actually a 40% less labor cost that will be needed in the future, and that can actually provide a 25% EBITDA margin. And this is a bit unusual for local players to show this kind of margins, and this is also what we are setting for the next future to our investors, but also partners. So I guess this is a really short presentation, but I will be happy to answer any question and to leave the floor to the next one. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Tiffen, for this very interesting presentation about LICO Labs. We have some remarks and some first questions. Sver, I think you can activate your microphone for the very interesting experiment you shared with us. Then we have a question from Thomas and also from Frank.
Thank you.
Perhaps I'll let you go first, Frank. Nice to see you again.
Hey, Sver, good to see you. I'm not 100% sure what kind of funding you're looking for, but I just want to mention to you European Innovation Council again. So this year, Accelerator Challenge is called the New European Bauhaus Challenge, which is really spot on what you are doing, right? So digital computational design, digitalized fabrication in order to use and enable new materials. So for you, that would mean 2.5 million grant and or up to 50 million equity together with a private investor. So have a look. Maybe this year, this is a good opportunity for you and also for the other people that are listening.
All right. Thank you very much. I will definitely have a look at it. Thank you.
And perhaps adding to that, the comment I placed in the chat, please have a look. We have an experiment construction site with 7 pavilions just opened to the public as well. Frank had a sneak peek some time ago, so that's where we met, where we are basically showcasing how to build sustainably, but also with respect for daylight and indoor air quality and energy consumption and so on. But of course, with a big emphasis on carbon footprint, which is very, very low, 3 times lower than the voluntary classification in Denmark currently. But the point was that as you're working with CLT construction, you will there be able to see both a timber frame construction and a CLT constructed home, and compare basically those living spaces. So feel free to look into that material and also to visit in Copenhagen. We'll be happy to show you around. And of course, we are in all cases happy to look for partners for scaling that concept.
Right. Thank you very much. That's very clear, and I will look at this link you just shared. So thank you, Sver. Yeah.
Thank you. I have Thomas with me in the room. Do you want to ask a question? Okay, just one small question. Can the microfactory for assembly be on site or rather in place for ready-mix plant?
So so if I understanding well the question, so we have currently this robotic line that is in function. It is placed in Luxembourg in our micro factory, and we are also producing manually. And the vision that we have is actually that we would like, so construction is a very local industry, and I think we can't really change how it is built today. But what we've seen is that we would like to develop in partnership with a lot of constructors the possibility to have this microfactory in place locally, where you usually have a concrete production. It is usually one concrete or cement production site per department or per city. So we think it could be the same with wood in the future.
Thank you. We have also Tirachai from Siam Cement, who is asking which type of wood is compatible with your technology, and are there any limitations to its use?
So we are currently building with Douglas, which is pine wood, and are thinking of using other kinds of wood, but this is under development. And the reason we are using Douglas is because we have a lot of this wood currently in France, but also in Europe. And it is a very strong wood and not used as often as we could see with other woods. So the other one can perhaps be more subject to inflation and a lot of variation in the price, which is less the case with the Douglas that we have secured in France.
Okay, thank you for this reply. Okay. So thanks a lot to our guests, and if we have 1 minute left for the end of the session, I wanted also to thank the participants. We had today Frank from European Innovation Council. We also had Sandra Boivant from Holcim and Mathieu Orniez from Holcim Innovation Center. We have Thibault Lességuillon and Enzo Frare from Industria. Our three friends, Pawe Tirachai and Tuchai from Siam Cement Group. Kyle Kral from Thornton Somasetti, of course, Sver from Velux, Joanna Marcelli from La Ville de Paris, so the city of Paris, Peter Jercho from Wacker Chemie, actually, Clydia from WeBuild, and of course our great speakers Juan and Chris from Zacqua Ventures and CRH Ventures. So thanks a lot. It was a great opportunity to hear from you guys about this very interesting subject, which is sustainability in construction tech. You'll have the contacts and the presentations of everyone. So thanks again, and concerning our global contact program, we have more events coming soon, and especially our next online innovation session, which will take place live from Paris with international speakers on July the 5th. And it will be focused on energy and clean tech in construction. I will type down the subscription link if you want to already register for this morning. morning session. We look forward to having you guys around the table to talk about Contech. And finally, to conclude, thank you so much for being here today, and we hope to hear from you soon and to see you all in July. We remain at your disposal if you want to talk more about Contech and about our activity and our global program. And of course, thank you to our Shimizu Corporation partners, which are with us for all of these sessions. I hope the session lived up to your expectations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.